The Eye of the Sahara, also known as the Rick-Hat structure, has long captivated the imagination of those who ponder the mysteries of our planet. Joe Rogan revealed some shocking truths about the Eye of the Sahara. Now you must be thinking, how did Joe Rogan stumble upon this sudden discovery, and what are the implications of his announcement? What clues and evidence have researchers uncovered that point to an ancient civilization beneath the desert? How could this discovery reshape our understanding of human history and the rise of civilizations? To get answers of these queries, stay tuned with us till the end of the video. Joe Rogan, a renowned podcaster, reveals scientists' discovery under the Eye of the Sahara Desert. Let's uncover the cosmic mysteries hidden beneath the sand dunes of the Sahara. The Great Sahara Desert is unique in its type as it is the hottest and one of the largest deserts in the world. The vast region of the Sahara Desert stretches over 11 countries in northern Africa. If we talk about the geographical location of the Sahara Desert, we can see that on the west side, we have got the Atlantic Ocean. In the north, we have got the Atlas Mountains and the Mediterranean Sea. While in the east, we have the Red Sea struts. There lies a region in Sahara known as the Sahel, which is between dry and not so dry, where deserts meet the greenery. The Sahara Desert is like a gigantic sandbox that stretches across 31% of the whole African continent. The temperature of the Sahara is known to be the hottest desert climate on Earth. This region gets less than 100 millimeters of liquid stuff annually, which is not more than a tiny drop of water in such a massive desert. However, there are some regions of the desert that cross the timeline of years without a single drop of water. The Sahara has its own strange seasonal guest star known as the North African monsoon. This star is like a moisture-loaded aid that brings much-needed rain to the region. Now let's talk about the Saharan air layer, which occasionally emits hot air and huge dust storms along the region. The ultimate superstar of the Sahara is the camel. They have the unique ability to store fat and water in their humps for long periods of time to survive the hot and dry weather of the desert. Now if we look into the human history and culture in the Sahara Desert, it has been inhabited for thousands of years. Once, the Sahara was a fertile piece of land surrounded by lakes and rivers that give a suitable environment to wildlife and human settlements. But unfortunately, around 5500 BCE, the climate changed to drier, which forced many human settlements in the Sahara Desert to migrate or adapt to new ways of life. You must have seen the views of a caravan of camels journeying through deserts. Well, this is a common sight in the Sahara Desert. The caravans of camels used to carry trade goods like gold, ivory, salt, and even human slaves across the region. Therefore, they build many trade routes and towns along their way to continue trade in an effective manner. Timbuktu, Gao, Sijilmasa, and Jen are examples of such routes and towns made for the purpose of trade. The real fact that was hidden till now is the Eye of the Sahara, or you can say the Rick-Hat structure. This structure is like nature's massive bullseye, which is 40 kilometers wide. Are you interested in playing some cosmic shafts? Now here comes the impressive thing that even astronauts above in their spaceships can view this spot from outer space. Amazed? Aren't you? This Eye of the Sahara is a landmark event for space explorers. Back in the 60s, some astronauts decided to take pictures of this astonishing landmark. Hence, a super smart Landsat satellite came along and took more detailed pictures of it, and gave us an inside revelation about the hidden secret of the Sahara Desert. Few years back, some geologists were of the point of view that the Eye of the Sahara was the result of a cosmic collision. But after some research and digging of rocks, some experts discovered that the Eye of the Sahara is Earth-made only. Hence, Earth was the reason behind this desert wonder. But now the question arises, how did it come into existence? The story of its existence starts long ago, when not even the territory of the Sahara Desert was claimed. That region was the coolest area one has ever been to, with a temperate and lush environment. During this epic strike, winds were constantly blowing sand into the surroundings and lakes were in full quiver, depositing sandstone rocks. Meanwhile, deep down the Earth's surface, volcanic activity was occurring which pushed up layers of sandstone. When the volcanic occurring calmed down, then water erosion came to light. That's how the region started to settle and created an astonishing circular eye in the Sahara Desert. Now let's get insight into time and space to the breakup of Pangaea, the supercontinent. Back in the ancient days of Earth, when it was like a giant puzzle breaking apart, something fascinating happened. As the supercontinent Pangaea split up, the waters of the Atlantic Ocean flowed into the new spaces. But that's not all. Deep beneath the surface, something even cooler was taking place. Imagine superhot melted rock called magma joining the scene. It pushed upwards, creating a circular rocky bump surrounded by layers of colorful sandstone that give it a unique and funky appearance. But nature's creativity didn't end there. Over countless years, the forces of wind and water teamed up to sculpt this landscape. They wore away the rocky bump and the layers of sandstone, causing the bump to sink a bit. What's left now are circular hills that make the rice shot area resemble a sunken arena, ready for a show. Now, let's dig deeper into what makes this rice shot place so special. Picture a slightly squished dome that nature has been shaping for millions and millions of years. Inside this incredible dome, you'll find rocks that formed way before humans even existed. These rocks start from the center of the dome and stretch all the way to the middle of the Ordovician sandstone. The way these super tough rocks, think of them like the sturdy quartzite, changed over time created these awesome circular slopes. Right in the heart of this remarkable landscape lies a special type of rock, covering an area that's at least 30 kilometers wide. It's like a natural wonder that holds the secrets of Earth's history and the incredible forces that shaped it. Now, let's dive into how all of this awesomeness was created. Deep into the Eye of the Sahara, there is a motley crew of rocks. One can identify various types of cool objects like rhyolitic volcanic rocks to gabbros carbonatites. A situation of chaos occurred due to volcanic eruption and then cooling down for millions of years. The gabbroic rocks form two ring-like earth wall within a rime dike of about 20 meters wide and outer ring dike of about 50 meters wide, if we examine 7 to 8 kilometers away from the center. There, we find some cool carbonate dikes and sills that stretch around 300 meters long. But they're not about being wide. They prefer to be 1 to 4 meters wide, all about those massive carbonate rocks without any vesicles. These rocks have been chilling here for millions of years, dating back between 94 and 104 million years ago. And guess what? Over in the northern part of the Rick-Hat structure, we found a surprise guest. A kimberlitic plug and a few sills. This kimberlite plug, which is around 99 million years old, adds a touch of glamour to the scene. So, what does all this rock extravaganza really mean? Well, it seems there's a huge alkaline igneous intrusion hanging out beneath the Rick-Hat structure. But here's the real bombshell you've been waiting for. The Rick-Hat structure has sparked quite a few conspiracy theories over time. Corsetti, who was invited by Joe Rogan to his show, believes he's got the proof that the Eye of the Sahara is none other than the legendary Atlantis. And trust me, he's got some compelling evidence up his sleeve. But we'll dive into that in just a bit. First things first, let's tackle the big question that keeps those brilliant minds awake at night. Where exactly is this Atlantis? According to the stories, Atlantis was a happening island somewhere near the Rock of Gibraltar. Picture this, a massive Poseidon statue, fancy walls, and canals. Plato, an ancient Greek philosopher, chimed in and suggested that this submerged city might be somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. But hold on to your seats, because despite all our fancy technology, we haven't found any sunken metropolis down there. Shocked, right? And here's where things get even more interesting. Some folks think Atlantis might be hanging out in the Mediterranean near Spain's coast. But wait, there's more. A few brave souls even propose that Atlantis could be hiding under Antarctica. Can you imagine Atlantis and penguins having a chill time together? Back in the day, many believed that the Azores would be the perfect spot for Atlantis. But the recent research has shaken things up. Now, scientists are placing their bets on Cadiz, somewhere in the watery space between Spain and Morocco. Can you even fathom the size of Atlantis when it was in its prime? Plato had quite the description, claiming that this underwater kingdom was bigger than both Libya and Asia combined. And you know what? Tertullian, an early Christian author, totally backed him up, saying it would make today's Libya and Asia look like pebbles in comparison. But here is where the details start to get a bit fuzzy. People after Plato's time couldn't quite agree on Atlantis's size. Some said it was as massive as Crete, which happens to be Greece's largest island. Meanwhile, others simply referred to it as a giant city, conveniently leaving out any actual measurements. Now, here's a fun twist. Edgar Cayce, an American mystic with a touch of Christian flair, had a different idea. He believed that Atlantis and Eurasia were like two peas in a pod, perfectly matching in size. But let's get down to the basics of this intriguing city. According to legend, the mighty Poseidon, the god of the sea and earthquakes, fell head over trident for a mortal beauty named Plato. To showcase his undying love, Poseidon decided to build an awe-inspiring city for her on a secluded island, and that's how Atlantis came to be. This magical city had it all: a series of concentric rings made of land and water, fancy tunnels connecting the rings, gates, towers, and a massive rock wall surrounding the city. The wall itself was a stunning blend of red, white, and black rocks, adorned with precious metals that glittered like bling-bling. Because, you know, nothing says, "I love you," like a gold-plated castle. Atlantis wasn't just a pretty face. It was a pioneer of eco-friendliness, where half-gods and half-humans coexisted in harmony. They were ahead of their time, growing their own crops and raising animals with top-notch irrigation skills. Their architecture was ahead of their time, stunning structures were crafted from black and red stones, and they had access to rare metals and alloys that would make any jeweler jealous. They even used to experiment in crystals for fun and experiments. Now, here comes an incredible twist. Among all the legends and tales surrounding Atlantis, Edgar Cayce had a unique prediction. He believed that Atlantis would rise from the depths like a glorious sunrise, just off the east coast of North America. And that's not all. Cayce thought that the ancient Atlantean souls were reincarnating in America, escorting in a new era of enlightened human consciousness. Who knows, maybe they're the ones behind all those Instagram influencers and meditation gurus. But hold on, there's another intriguing theory. Some tales suggest that the original Atlanteans were actually extraterrestrial beings. These cosmic dudes supposedly hailed from a star system called Lyra and landed on Atlantis about 50,000 years ago. And here's the kicker: they were taller, fairer, and lived up to a mind-boggling 800 years. There's even wilder speculation that Atlantis might have been on Mars. And these Atlanteans allegedly had superpowers, like controlling the weather and taming volcanoes. Legend says that they had a gadget that could channel energy from time and space. But just like Rome, Atlantis met its downfall. The cheeky Athenians decided to wage an unprovoked war on parts of Asia, and the gods responded with a wrath of biblical proportions. Tsunamis, earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes, floods, they threw it at the unfortunate Atlanteans. In the midst of this cosmic clash, Atlantis couldn't escape its fate. It shattered into pieces, vanishing into the ocean depths and the desert vastness. But wait, were these Atlanteans truly advanced beings, or is it all just an imaginative tale? Some skeptics argue that it's a fictional representation of a harsh way of life. Renowned ocean explorer Robert Ballard, who famously discovered the Titanic, believes there might be some truth to the Atlantis myth. He points out that a massive volcanic eruption on the island of Santorini bears similarities to Plato's description of Atlantis. Ignatius Donnelly also backs the theory of a mid-Atlantic continent, exactly where Plato mentioned it. But there's a counter-argument, with Professor James Romm suggesting that Plato invented the Atlantis story to convey his philosophical ideas. Now that we're well acquainted with Atlantis, let's explore the evidence that supports Corsetti's theory. Plato's relative Solon traveled to Egypt and learned about Atlantis firsthand. Solon shared the story with Plato, and that's where the adventure begins. Plato described Atlantis as a splendid place with alternating zones of water and land, which curiously matches the physical layout of the Eye of the Sahara. The nearby mountains seemed almost divine, and the Eye has its own majestic mountains up north. And like this, rivers and waterfalls flow just as Plato mentioned. But there's more to uncover. Plato mentioned a sea to the south and a desert surrounding Atlantis. And guess what? You can spot a sea in a desert in those satellite images. Mauritania exports copper and gold, reminiscent of the Atlantean Empire. And the elephant bones found near the Eye add another fascinating clue. Even the black, red, and lighter-colored rocks that dot Atlantis's description are found in the Eye. Archaeologists discovered a treasure heap of ancient artifacts in and around the Eye's mysterious structure. Arrowheads, spears, stone spheres, oars, these remains from a lost civilization gave an intriguing imagination. And remember Atlantis's grand kingdom ruled by 10 twins born from Poseidon? Well, Nigeria, right next to Mauritania, boasts the highest rate of twin births on Earth. Coincidence? Maybe not. Atlantis' timeline doesn't align with the Eye's ancient formation. While the Eye is a remarkable geological marvel, it's uncertain whether it holds the secrets of Atlantis. Perhaps Atlantis remains a mystery waiting to be uncovered in a different corner of the world. As we venture forth into the unknown, the search for the legendary city continues. And that's a wrap for today's video.